This time on Boner Revivals, we're going to be upgrading our brakes on our budget trailer. Should be pretty sweet upgrades, so let's make this thing stop. Alrighty, here's our brand new brakes that we have to go on our trailer. These are Vevor brakes. I got these off of Amazon. So as you guys know, this trailer currently only has brakes on the front axle, but we have discovered that it actually has the mounting slots on the rear axle as well. So we can have 4 brakes all the way around. The front brakes that are on this are manually adjusted. They're old, decrepit, the wires were cut. We don't know what condition they were in. Started looking into it. It was just cheaper to buy brand new brakes. And initially I bought 2 sets, so they obviously come in a package pair. I got them on sale for around 119 to 120 bucks a piece. I think they normally retail around 155 when they're not on sale on Amazon. So these bearings are the exact same one, inner and outer, so they're gonna fit on our spindle, no problem. The only thing that's gonna change is our bolt pattern. The bolt pattern on the trailer was a 5 by 4 3/4. This is a 5 by 4 1/2. That unfortunately means that we're gonna have to get new wheels. So buying both of these brake kits put us at, I think, $252 and change or something like that. So for 250 bucks, yeah, let's get a set of brakes all the way around on this thing. Let's not even play any games anymore. Something to take note of on these brakes is there is actually a side that they need to go on. These are labeled with either a left or right. And when it talks about left or right, if you're sitting in the truck, which truck would be up there, left-hand side, driver's side, right-hand side, passenger side. All right, so we have our brake assembly here. I have it all pulled apart. If you wanted to be lazy like I wanted to be, you can just throw these on and however long they last is how long they last. But I know better. And honestly, when I've come to a point where I'm so far into this, let's just do it while we're right here staring at it. And I think that's part of my learning curve. As the older I get, the more it's like, hey, stop taking shortcuts and just do it the right way at this point. So that way you don't have to worry about it down the road. So digging into doing some of the preventative maintenance on these brake sets. In order to tear these all apart, you can literally get away with doing it with a set of pliers and a flathead screwdriver, or you can go pick up one of these kits here for doing drum brakes. I paid $16 for this at Harbor Freight. I figured we're going to be doing it enough. You know, I would just go ahead and splurge and do it, but don't be afraid to do it the old-fashioned way. But I bought this kit, so this is what I plan on using. So what I went and did before I took all this apart, I did take a couple photos just so I know how it all goes back together. Let's see how well this guy works here. That is so much easier than trying to pull it off with the pliers. Oh yeah. So got those off relatively easily, which means we can take that guy off. Off of that. We're also gonna have to pull these little retainers here. So that's where this tool comes in handy. Just press it down, or is it? It's this one. Press down and it will rotate. I gotta hold the pin though. Helps if you hold the pin. There we go. And then just make sure you don't lose any of this hardware. Oh yeah. Oh, there's that. Almost dropped that pin. So with them being released, this should lift up and off. There we go. We'll set that off to the side. So we have our pivot point here with the magnet. We're going to want to grease this area where the brake drums are going to move around it. We'll do this block too because that pivots. And then what I also want to do is try to take off the swing arm here for our magnet. If it will pop off, which it does not seem to want to right now. There it is. So we'll pull that guy off. And then we'll also lubricate around this just because, you know, that's going to have a lot of action back and forth in movement. So I'd really like to try to grease all that up. We also have these pads here where the shoes fit. You can see it looks like the factory tried to put some lubricant on it and then just failed miserably, which, what do you want for, I guess, Chinese brakes, I suppose. But we'll go ahead, we'll goop all of them up. And then we'll do around this guy. this guy as well. So then we can set that guy back on there. And we'll go ahead around and do around this block as well. Okay. So this is that adjuster deal here. Basically what I'm going to do for this guy is we'll pull the spring off, and this has a set of threads on it. I want to go ahead and lubricate all of those threads. What happens a lot on these drum brakes, and I've seen it a million times, is this will get rusty and corroded, and then this will not move anymore. And that's, you know, when stuff just doesn't go well, stuff gets stuck. It's not going to have a good time. Probably gooped that like way too much, but it's great. It's fine. Go ahead and spin this guy all the way out to try to adequately make sure that we have all the threads lubricated. Go ahead and thread this back on. There's a few other points too here with these shoes that I want to show you with the cable for the adjuster. This guy backed out, so there's that little clip. Make sure that don't get lost. And pull this cable off this wheel, and this little wheel comes off. This wheel is going to rotate on this little shaft in here, and basically what I'm going to end up doing is we're also going to go ahead and lubricate that shaft a little bit. As I totally forgot to put this clip back on for this wheel. I'm sure that would have ended disastrous for us. Happy I caught myself there. There it is. Okay. Now that we didn't forget about that, set this over here. We'll bring this whole assembly back. And like I said, everything's already pre-lubricated here. Okay, let's begin the reconfiguring process here. Go ahead. Oh, before I get too far here, so these little pins too, these will corrode on the back because they kind of hang out in the middle of no man's land back behind the drum brake. So we'll go ahead and give them some lubrication and protection. Then we'll slide her up in. Get our little compressor tool back here. And there we go. That side's locked in. Now I just gotta go ahead and do this other side. Okay. So now that those are back on, we'll get this plate back on here. And we'll go ahead and get our springs back in line. And there's that one. So there we go. So the entire drum brake assembly is now back together. This is ready to go. Now let's take you over to the actual drum and show you what we're going to have going on there. So with these drums, I will say I am slightly perturbed, but obviously they send you a new bearing, which is nice. Inner and outer, brand new race, the whole nine. But what's agitating to me is that on the back side, when you pull this cover off, they have the brand new bearing and race in there with a brand new seal. But the problem is they didn't grease this back bearing. So basically we're going to have to press this bearing out with the seal. Hopefully we don't bust up the seal on the way out, so we can grease this back bearing and then put it all back together. So we're gonna have to go ahead, flip this guy back over. We obviously have our outer bearing removed. I have this Matic seal and bearing like punch set, because basically we're gonna have to drive the bearing and the seal out. I just really hope it doesn't tear up the seal, because if it does, I'm gonna have to go get seals, which obviously you don't want to do if everything's brand new. Why do you do that? So kind of a little annoyed, but what do you want for $100 and some odd brake and, you know, drum and hub assembly? I mean, you can't, I guess, complain. I mean, I can, and I'm going to, but it probably won't get me nowhere, but. And there we go. So, flip her up. And the seal looks okay, and so does our bearing. So I'm old school when it comes to packing these bearings. I don't have any of the special tools or doodads or what else nots to do this. So just have a little bit of grease on the hand here, and we'll go ahead and just, you're taking that gap in the bearing race and you're just pressing it along the grease in the palm of your hand and just trying to get all that grease filled into that area where you see it all. So you'll know that you have successfully packed it when you see the grease coming out of it like that. And then you're just going to go ahead and continue to do that all the way around the bearing. All right, so now that this bearing is fully packed, what I will do here is I'll take a little bit of residual grease and I'll go ahead and put it on the race here just to lubricate that. And then our bearing is good to drop onto the race. While we're here, I'll go ahead and do this outer one too while I have the grease on my hand. I will go ahead and just get a small little dab of grease. It doesn't have to be a bunch, but we'll get it on that surface area, and then we'll go ahead and just do a little tiny bit on the seal itself as well. Get it lined up where it seems like it's just about ready to set in. We'll go ahead and switch over our seal driver from this little one here that we use to drive it out. Swap over to this bigger one. That's obviously the size of the seal itself. Then we'll go ahead, take our seal driver here. Now try to make sure that this is already as even as you can get to set in. Just kind of take a glance around, because you just want to drive that in as evenly as possible. Go ahead and give her some smacks. So that just about concludes all that. I'm going to go ahead and take this dust cover so no debris or anything gets in it while we're having it lay on the trailer here. So then we'll go ahead, we'll flip it to the other side. I'll go ahead and grab this outer bearing. Like I said, same deal. A little bit in on that race there just to try to get her as happy as we can possibly make her. And drop that outer one in. And then, like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing and put the cap back on so no dirt and debris get in there with it. Well, I checked to see if I have any nuts for these studs where they mount on the plates. Because in trivial fashion, could I use the old ones? No shot. So I don't have anything here, so I'm gonna have to go out and find them. I believe these, looking into it, these should be a 7/16 20 fine thread nut, which is gonna be interesting to see if we can find it. Well, I just spent about the last 2.5 hours driving around from store to store trying to find the right size nuts and washers for our brake hardware. They're 7/16 by 20 fine thread. So just kind of an oddball size, and most of your normal stores wouldn't have it. You know, finally said, all right, let's stop in and visit the local folks down at their hardware store, and well, sure as heck they had it. And what fine folks they are too, because you know what else they got us? On the way out the door, he said, hey, you want a calendar? Yes, I do. Always support local businesses is the message here. Oh yeah, sweet looking calendar. Now for the real test here. Are these the golden ticket? Oh yeah, buddy. That'll do. That will do. Now that we let our paint cure up here, I'm going to go ahead and hang these brakes on this thing. I'm also going to go ahead here and try to be smart and put some anti-seize right on these threads here. So that way if these ever have to come back apart, hopefully they won't be all seized up like the last set that came off of it were. Boom. Wow. Oh, look at that. Does that look like functional brakes to you? It does to me. We'll go ahead and get our nuts and our washers on here. And we'll have a brake assembly on this bad boy. All fully cleaned up here. I'm going to take a rag and some brake clean all them up. We have our new bearings that are already greased. So it should just slide the whole assembly on. We are going to have to reuse our castle nut and washer, which no big deal. That doesn't make me feel sad. I did want to take a moment here to bring you in as we're on the driver's side now, pulling apart this old brake assembly so we can get everything cleaned up and ready to put the new on. Look at some of the contact points. Just how nasty, corroded, crusty, and rusty they are. We were talking about those pins earlier too that hold the shoes on. Yep. Hammered. So that's why we're doing our preventative maintenance to try to get this thing mint. So it dawned upon me that I kind of forgot to record us doing the drum install on the brake shoes on the passenger side. So we have the last one here over on the driver's side. So first things first, I did wipe down our spindle beforehand and got that all nice and clean. I'm going to take a little bit of grease here and apply it to the spindle. That way I know it's not going to be dry. I did unfortunately run out of grease, which I really tend to try to not mix different color greases, but kind of in a pinch and ran out here. I'm not, again, not condoning this. Make sure you have enough. I unfortunately did not. So if this thing blows apart in, you know, a couple days, a couple years, you know, you'll know not to follow in my errors. But now that we got that lubed up, I'm gonna go ahead, partially slide this guy on. And what I'm gonna do as well, just because I'm here with the grease gun, I'm just gonna go ahead and give a couple squeezes while the hub's half on, just so there's a little bit access, not a whole bunch, but at least that way we know she's lubricated well here. Now that our drum's on, we can go ahead and slide on our outer bearing, and then we'll take our old washer nut that we had to reuse here that I did take the time to clean up. One thing I am doing is I am presetting the bearing. So what I've been doing is I'll tighten it down, loosen it, and then set it. I'm gonna tear this all back apart once we get the tires and wheels together and double check to make sure that I'm happy with how much like preload is on them. That way we'll make sure we're good. But for right now, just to get it together and to get the dust caps on so no dirt and debris gets in there, I'm gonna go ahead and preset these. So digging into our wiring now, there's 2 green wires that come off of each individual brake. It doesn't matter which one you make positive and which one you make ground. That kind of confused me at first, and I had to look into it, but basically for the magnet, I guess the polarity doesn't matter. So basically, whichever one you pick to be positive, make it positive. Whichever one you pick to be negative, make it negative. Well, y'all, I just spent the last 2.5 hours trying to get this wire fed through this axle tube. It just didn't want to go. Unfortunately, I ended up making the hole super big, which I'm not happy with. So what was weird is obviously, you know, this axle is all tied in up here and it's all wired up. That one already had the holes pre-drilled in it. So I just drilled them in the same spot on the back axle here and figured we'd send our wire that we bought, you know, over because it should be the right gauge stuff. And just the thickness of it, it was having a hard time getting through the tube. I was tying it to parts of old harness here, trying to feed it in, and it kept slipping. So I literally had to strip it and tie it to itself and then electric tape over it so it kind of hold itself together, and finally got it fished through. She's good now. So we got to wire up. Black's going to be hot, white's going to be ground. So we'll wire it up and solder it on this side, do the same thing on the other side. Alrighty, so we're back over here on what would be the driver's side. I wanted to show you quick here. So here's our wires coming out of our axle tube right here. These are the 2 wires for this brake. And then this wire is what's our jumper wire that runs over here. And as you can see, it ties into all of this. That's our main wire that runs all the way out to the front of the trailer there. So the hot runs in to this front axle here. It's tied into this assembly, as you can see right here. It also ties into the wiring into that axle tube to go over there to send power for there. This wire jumps in on that as well to pull the power from the front axle assembly to the rear axle assembly. So my black's my hot, my white's my ground. So basically what we're going to do is wire to wire. So black to black over there in green, and then white to white and green. So also remember to put your shrink wrap tubes on. So I'm going to get one on this side and this side. What I want to do here is isolate the hot and the negative, and then I'm going to put one big heat shrink over the whole entire deal. So that way it's double protected. Then we'll go ahead and tape it as well. The biggest piece of advice I'll give you for the entire thing is don't be an idiot like me. Make sure you got your shrink tube where it needs to be before you start soldering. Can't tell you the amount of times I've started soldering, realized that, heat shrink tube wasn't on it after we're done. I had to cut wires and rewire it. All right, we're back up here working on the front of the trailer. As if you guys remember, when we first put this thing together with the taillight kit that we got with the harness, it sent us this 4-way plug. But in order to have trailer brakes, we need to upgrade to a 7-way plug, which is why we have this junction box here along with the 7-way plug end. What we're also going to have to figure out and wire up here is our battery box and our emergency safety pole. Basically, what all of this does is it ties together, and if something happens where the trailer comes disconnected from the truck, it'll pull this pin out here and basically engage the trailer brakes to stop the trailer. That's tied into the battery and then into this box here. As far as it goes for this 4-way plug, it's going to be cut the wires where they're going to feed into this junction box, and then we'll have our brake lights and our turn signal lights. So that'll be pretty simple. We'll have to run another ground for this. The biggest, most important thing is trying to figure out where I want this to be on the tongue of the trailer, along with this battery box and along with that safety cable pull. Alrighty, I got our holes drilled. What I ended up doing is getting this box that's going to sit right about in here, and then our battery box here is going to sit back here. We're going to have 4 bolts in the battery box and 2 in our 7-way plug connector. What I also did for myself too is I went in there, cleaned it all up, and primed it and painted it. Well, there she is, all mounted up. What I like about it is it just keeps everything down, tucked away. There's nothing hanging out here. The only thing is that there's not enough room on this angle for battery box to be completely covered. If something was to come up here and hit it, it could bust some stuff up, but I'll take my chances on that than having it, out here. I got our wires ran up through here into our box. And again, this is part of our old 4-prong connection. We snipped that, so we have our remaining wires that go back throughout the rest of the trailer. And we're gonna go ahead and strip them and get ready to rewire them. So with our harness here, there's a yellow brown, there's a green, and a green brown. The green brown and the yellow brown are the tail lights. The turn signals are your pure color, the green and the yellow. So what we can do here, and what I'm gonna do, is we're gonna put our green and brown and our yellow and brown together here, and we'll go ahead and solder them up with one of our little connectors here. The ones that I have here are insulated, but basically I think I'm going to cut the insulated part off and then solder them together. For the wires that we have here off a 4-way, the green one is the right hand turn signal, and then the yellow one is the left hand. So on our box that we have here, it's clearly labeled. So the right turn light would go to brown, and then the left turn right will go to red. Alrighty, so all of our lights are wired up. Now what we need to do is go ahead and start wiring our battery in. I have the ground already wired and in and tucked in here. Now we need to get what is supposed to be the battery power and the wire to the brakes for our safety pole. We need to get all of these now wired into our box. So if I read the directions accordingly, which, my ability to read has been known not to be the best, this black wire goes up to the black wire on our safety pole here. Or sorry, no, what am I doing? The black is for the power. Black goes the power from the harness here, from the 7-way plug from the vehicle. The blue here goes to the blue on the safety pin pole here. And then the black from the safety pin goes to the brake terminal here inside our box. Pretty sure we got it right now. Don't know if I mentioned it before too, but I also decided to mount this here, and we have our cable here. I do have a little D-ring clip that's going to clip into this, and then that's going to go hook up to the back bumper. But that's where I decided to put this. You know, our plate is going to, you know, come and sit right about here. Our drum assemblies from the back axle, all that wiring is going to feed, you know, up this frame rail in here and then get plugged into its corresponding area. Alrighty, now for the moment of truth with this whole debauchery. We have trailer brake wires coming in right here. So everything is tied in. I just made some quick loops here. I'm just tightening up this nut now for the connection. That'd be the 12 volt from the truck, and then also tied into this battery. So if the brakes are completely functional, we should actually be able to pull our safety pin and it should lock all the brakes. So let's find out. So the light's on the battery. So that one's locked. That one's locked. And then locked in. Oh, now that one's locked. So they all function, which means we should have some trailer brakes now, boys. Heck yeah. Big win there. And if we plug our safety pull back in, we should hear them all unlock. Nice. Also just confirming we got our lights going here. I currently have the harness plugged into a truck running outside, and there's definitely drag now on these brakes, but I wasn't supposed to show you the new wheels and tires. Oh well. Sneak peek to a video that you're gonna see in 2 or 3 weeks here. But yeah, definitely functional. I'm gonna come over here, sit down on the trailer, grab myself a cold one here. Let's talk about the budget of this thing. Clear to say that this was the most expensive video as far as money spent in a single video so far. So up to this point, from buying the trailer last year, the 4 videos that we did last year, and the one that you saw 2 weeks ago where we upgraded the suspension, we were $1,300 into this trailer. With buying the breakaway kit, that was a 1-piece kit off of Amazon, that was 38 bucks. The trailer brakes, I got them on sale, and obviously buying 2 for the front axle and then the rear axle, that came out to 238 bucks. The trailer 7-way plug with the box, that was $23 off of Amazon, and then I think I ended up paying $15 or $16 for the nuts and washers here. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm also missing the trailer wiring that we bought as well, that we ran through the back axle and then went up through the front of the trailer. I did end up reusing the wire that was in the front axle tube. Kind of looking at it, it looked like there was nothing wrong with it. I just snipped the ends off, restripped it, and it looked totally fine, so I opted to reuse it. I'd recommend if you were doing it at home, just rewire the entire thing. Hindsight being 2020, I should have, but I would have had to buy a second roll of the wire. For the allotted amount of time that I had, it wasn't going to get here in time, so I just said, heck with it. Let's just be cool with rewiring. Trailer wire was 22 bucks. Total investment so far in this trailer is $1,600, so 1,640 bucks as you're seeing on the screen here. So, well, there you have it. Our trailer now has trailer brakes, not only on the front axle, but on the rear axle as well. That is super exciting for me. I hope it is for you guys too, and I hope you got some value out of this, man. What a long journey has been with this trailer, but the fact that it has trailer brakes now, that was the biggest thing that I was truly worried about when it came to repairing this trailer. To have them on both axles now is such a huge upgrade. This trailer ought to be pretty kick-ass, and I'm super excited about it. So we are not done though. Obviously, a trailer needs to be painted at some point. I will be announcing in the next video in this series what color we're going to be doing and what the game plan is for painting it. But in the next video, we will be revealing our new tires and wheels. We will also be reimagining our winch setup here in case you haven't seen it. A couple things going on behind the scenes that we're going to try to do to keep the toolbox and have the winch on the trailer deck all at the same time. Pretty excited about that. And we'll catch you next time here on Boner Revivals. Remember to get out in the shop and start wrenching on your projects. Your dreams will not work unless you do. Thanks for watching. Take care.